why this team. Let's save it. I'm gonna save it. All right. Of course, when looking at this team, this offense that exploded out of nowhere, I got to give a lot of credit to the head coach, Sean McVay. He did a lot with the offense, really improved it much. But again, when you just substitute out Jeff Fisher, it was bound to happen. Of course, the quarterback is now third-year quarterback Jared Goff, who really stepped up and played well. Got a couple other guys, but it's the Goff show. He really stepped up from his disappointing rookie year. And of course, the running back is Todd Gurley, who won Offensive Player of the Year. And I thought he was MVP, but oh well. He did well as the Offensive Player of the Year. He showed to be a good 3-down running back, and they're probably going to have a backup or so. Just kind of give him a breather every now and then, but it's a Todd Gurley show. I can expect this guy doing very, very well. And wide receivers, they traded for Brandon Cooks after letting Sammy Watkins go. They also have Robert Woods, who did very well, and Cooper Kupp, who I think is going to be eventually the number one wide receiver for the LA Rams. Overall, and of course, the tight ends, it's going to be a bit of a competition. You got Gerald Everett, Tyler Higbee, solid performance. And, looking at the quarterback and the weapons he's dealing with, it's very, very good. It's a very talented offense that's built up very well, and a lot of guys that they wanted to step up, like Robert Woods, for example, did step up and really showed how well they can play. Then, of course, you have Cooper Kupp, who could take another step up. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets like 100 receptions this season 2018. And, of course, Todd Gurley always being the dynamic, dangerous running back. And looking at the offensive line, left tackle is Whitworth. Right tackle is going to be Rob Havenstein. Interior is probably going to be Roger Saffold. And maybe a little competition for the other guard, but it's not really worth mentioning. And at center is John Sullivan. Overall, again, this is a very, very talented offense. I do expect to go top 10 and dominate this the NFC West, especially at the state where it's at right now. It's a very talented offense, and at first glimpse, it does look like a team that could once again stroll around and dominate. Goff had a good season. Todd Gurley rebounded after having a Jeff Fisher season, and of course, the wide receiver core did very well. But there's something about this team that makes me a little suspicious about. But hey, let's get to the defense. And boy, this defensive line contains Michael Brockers, Aaron Donald, and the Dominican Sue. Woo! Those are three players I'd be scared to face. That should not only be a very talented run-stuffing team, but also a very, 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 very talented pass-rushing duo. Now, sure, finding an edge rusher is going to be tough after trading away Robert Quinn, and I don't think Connor Barwin's back, so finding edge rushers for that is going to be a bit challenging. But it shouldn't be much. I think they'll be all right. But yeah, if anyone thinks, oh, they're going to be fun, don't count your chickens just yet. And of course, looking at the linebacking core, they got rid of Alec Ogletree, and there's going to be a bit of a competition to see who's going to be the main inside linebacker. And this is where the weakness of the defense might really set in. There's no real leader or real middle linebacker on this defense. You got some players here or there, but it's just who's going to be the command. Who's going to be the commander? Who's going to be the one that tells them where to go, where to move, etc., etc. Like I said, I think Mark Barron might have to assume that role. They got a couple other players they'll probably throw in, but overall it's just okay, I guess. And look at the secondary where it has made big improvements, trading for not only Aqib Talib from the Broncos, but also grabbing Marcus Peters. And they got a new slot corner. I think Nikhil Roby Coleman for right now. They'll probably have a couple. They'll probably have a slight competition. Probably alternate every now and then. You also have at your safeties, Marcus Joyner and John Johnson. And overall, it's a very good defense, very well put together. But this is what I want to talk about. This team. And why I think this team is going to suffer the biggest collapse you could possibly mean, because they didn't really go into they really didn't go into the draft. They didn't go into the draft and see who they can get. No. They primarily relied on free agency, signing big players like Ndamukong Suh, making big trades, getting Cooks, Talib, and Peters. Because they did make it to the playoffs, but one thing I did notice about this team was that they came out very, very flat. They came out very unimpressive against the Falcons. They were outmatched. I thought they could have beat them very, very well and possibly very easily, but they just came out of the gate absolutely and completely flat. It was a real noticeable thing because it was their first time making the playoffs after so many years, but it showed that this team had no real leader. So they got rid of Johnson, Ogletree, and Quinn because those were players that have been on the team for quite a while, and even in some cases, been in the league as many times. And they came out flat and performed very unimpressively. I mean, it didn't feel like they were going down 5. It felt like they were just there to be there. And of course, they bring in these 3 players who've been in the league for quite a while. But here's the problem. None of these guys are leaders. None of them are good locker room players. I mean, you look at Peters. They traded him because he was a headache. Talib has always been a headache. I mean, Mr. Chain Snatch. Talib. And of course, you also have Ndamukong Suh, who's a locker room headache. There. 3 players that are locker room headaches. They're not going to make I don't know if they'll make a good impression or be, real good players. And of course, you ask me, oh, what about the offense, huh? Well, offense, you've got Andrew Whitworth, but I think, he's trying to get this offensive line together, show some continuity after, not just continuity, but consistency, some absolute consistency after, going from 2016 to 2017, helping them really improve. And he really did help that team improve on the offensive side. But it's going to come down to who's going to be leader, who's going to set and control the locker room. Suh, Talib, and Peters are headaches. They're absolute headaches. And looking at their schedule, of course, they're going to face a lot of tough opponents since they finished first in the division. And then there's some other opponents that will definitely give them trouble. They have to play at the North, too, facing against the Packers and the Vikings. They'll have to rematch against the Saints. They also have to play they don't have to play the Falcons. I was wrong. But they also have to play the Eagles. They're going to have a little more a tough matchup. I mean, they have a bye week 12, which could help them in the later run. And in fact, it's that the only real tough game is going to be against the Eagles. And they even get the beneficiary of it being at home. There's a little beneficiary to that. But overall, they're still going to have a tough time, and I expect this team to utterly collapse. Like, this is going to be a team that thinks they're going to come into every game with their fist in their hand, cracking their knuckles, thinking to themselves, "Oh yeah, we're gonna walk all over y'all. Y'all should just give up and give us a free win." And what might happen is that you're gonna see a lot of teams not give up an inch, keep up the fight, keep going, and they're just going to play dirty. They're going to play this smash mouth style football where you're going to see a ton of personnel foul penalties, a ton of free plays where they make dumb decisions because they're letting their emotions get to them, and it's really going to affect the team, especially on the record. And this is I think that's what's going to harm this team the most. Just the dumb emotional penalties that put them in so much bad situations. It's going to affect them against teams like the Saints and the Eagles and the Packers and the Vikings and the 49ers maybe twice and the Chargers. It's going to really affect them when it comes to those kind of matchups. And because of it, I think they might go 9-7. Playoff berth may or may not have it. Depends how the rest of the NFC goes, and seeing how tough the NFC is really shows. But this is a team that's going to get real emotional and commit a lot of dumb penalties, and it's really going to hurt and show. I mean, and of course you're thinking, oh well, Wade Phillips can stop whatever defense problem is. Wade Phillips is a pushover. He's a guy that's very easygoing, which is why he moves from job to job ever since he's been defensive coordinator. That's why he went from like Texans to the Broncos now here. He's not an authoritarian. He's not an authoritarian. He's not a guy who's going to put his foot down and tell and say enough's enough. No, this is a guy that's very, very easygoing. Some of the dirtier players like Peters, Talib, and Sue might take advantage of him.